Welcome to Land to House. I'm Seth. I'm here with my new friends Brian and Lana in an abandoned greenhouse. They have just moved into a house that has this giant space for growing their crops, and they have been hauling buckets up from the creek, and they quickly realized that is not fun. So today we're going to be installing a 1/2-inch ram pump to bring water to this storage tank so they can water their crops and hopefully not have to worry about hauling buckets. So let's go ahead and get started. Do keep watching to the end of the video so you can see a little tour here of their abandoned greenhouse. There's a natural water pool right here, and we're going to use that for our initial intake. It's going to go up under this culvert tile, which goes under the road. Comes over here and continues to drop. We're anticipating somewhere around 1.5 feet of drop to this little spot right over here next to this rock. And this is where the bucket's going to be for our air-free intake. So somewhere right around here. And then the water continues down. We're anticipating to get somewhere around 3 feet of head pressure. Here's a good foot of drop right here. Another foot right here. So we are anticipating the pump will rest right down in here to give our 3 feet of head pressure. So for a reference of where the pump is compared to the greenhouse is simply right up here. So we're going to sneak the delivery pipe back up the creek. It'll go through the culvert and to this corner of the building right here. And that's going to be our entrance point to go inside. The screened intake is going to be a 2-inch pipe with a bunch of holes into it and then some window screen on top of that. So what I'm going to do now is just take a regular old drill and I'm going to put a whole bunch of holes in here. Now the cap is going to come down about 1.5 inches, and then the coupling will be about 1.5 inches up here. So I can just come in this area right here with my drill to put a bunch of holes in here. Having a lot of holes in the intake allows for more surface area for the water to go into. So now I'm simply going to put a 2-inch coupling on one side, and then this 2-inch to 3/4 inch adapter or bushing. And then lastly, I'm going to put a cap on this side. Now if you had more holes in your pipe, it would probably be even better, but for the sake of time today, that's going to be sufficient. I've got some regular window screen that I'm going to wrap around this whole thing. And then I'm going to be using some regular old zip ties to hold that screen in place. And that should be sufficient for the screened intake.
So just some hidden treasures here. When we kind of adopted this place, we noticed they had a ton of this extra PVC and supplies and things like that just kind of laying off to the side. At one point, they used a whole greenhouse off of this, and lucky for us, they kept some of this material, so we're just kind of recycling it instead of pitching it or just letting it sit here and rot. You know, we're going to kind of breathe new life into it and use it for this project. We've got plenty of it. It's just trying to find a little coupling to help us out. Here's another bell, so that's going to work perfect. And I think that should be the length that we need. If we have 2 of these guys down there, might be all right. We can try to find a coupling and see if it'll help us out if we need it.
Now that the screened intake is finished, the supply line will take water to our filter bucket. I'm going to go ahead and get these connections put together with some of this PVC cement. Okay. I'm going to let all these connections stay for about 30 minutes before we plop it in the water. We have approximately 60 feet of 3/4 inch pipe, and that is what's going to take water from the intake to the bucket. So I'm just going to go through here and put cement on all these and get this locked down nice and tight. The drive pipe side of the ram pump has a threaded ball valve, and so I am simply going to attach this threaded adapter to this far end of the pipe here, and then it'll allow the ram pump to thread on to this pipe. The bucket is used between the supply line and the drive pipe to both collect silt and also provide an air-free water source for the ram pump. So what I'm going to do with this bucket is use a hole saw And I'm going to be about 6 inches or halfway up this bucket, and I'm simply going to just put a hole in it. Now, I'm using a product called Unisil. It is a rubber grommet that has the perfect size hole in the middle for a 1/2 inch pipe. You can get them in any size, so I've also got the 3/4 inch as well. So I am simply going to push that into the bucket where I drilled that hole. They make a very good fit so that it doesn't leak. And then the water is going to come out of here to the ram pump on the drive pipe. I'm going to flip this up. I'm going to drill the same hole in the lid, and that's where the supply line is going to use another one of these Unisil to dump in here. And that Unisil is also going to hold the supply line in place so it won't be bouncing around. I'm going to put a few extra holes in the lid to allow water to escape. Because of the shape of this ram pump, it will tilt over if it's not locked down, or it may get washed away. So I've got a regular decking board here, and I'm going to be mounting the pump like this. And to prevent it from scooting away in the creek, I'm also going to be installing a piece of rebar through here. So I've got a bit that will put a hole in here. And that's just going to allow this piece of rebar to be hammered down into the creek to keep this whole thing from scooting about. All right, now for the pump itself, I'm going to use some of this metal plumber's tape and lock this down to this decking board. Okay, and that right there should keep this upright quite nice. Now it's time to actually get the pump installed. So I've got the intake with the screen on it. I'm just going to attach that to our supply line here. Now you may have noticed that I left all of the fittings loose, and that's because whenever this fills up with sand, you can just pull the cap off, shake out the debris, and reattach, and you're good to go. So we're going to go ahead and get this pipe through the culvert into the place where our bucket is going to be. We're going to sink the screened intake into this little pool and place a big rock over it to hold it down. We have our supply line here in the creek, but you can see the flow rate is not a full pipe yet, which means there's some trapped air somewhere in our line. So we're going to start from the beginning and make sure there are no high spots. So there's always a downward slope. So right here may be an issue where it pops up a little bit, but our main issue is likely over here at the intake. So right here under these rocks, the pipe goes up a bit, and we're gonna go ahead and pull those off, dig some of the sediment around, and sink the pipe so it's always going downhill. Now every portion of that supply line is going downhill. There may be a small issue where we have to drill some more holes in our intake screen, but we'll see what we get down here. All of the air is now burping out of that pipe, and you can see the flow rate is quite nice. And so our bucket is not going to be this high, which is good news. So if we put our bucket right in here, that much water will be going into the bucket, and then we'll have plenty of water going into the drive pipe. Now to get the supply water into the bucket, we've got that Unisil here on the top, and I've got a 90-degree bend that I'm going to just simply push down into that Unisil, and that's where that water is going to come into and fill up the bucket. The supply line is done. Now it's time to install the drive pipe, and that's our 1/2 inch pipe. We're not exactly sure how long it is, but wherever it lands up in the creek is where the ram pump is going to be. So we want to make sure that one end is here at our bucket for this Unisil connection, and the other one, we'll find out where it goes. With our bucket right here, we want the drive pipe to be as close to the ground as possible. So things like this fallen tree, we're going to actually go under that and follow the creek down. If we were to go this way, we'd have to snake it around, and it would lose some of the ram pump's efficiency.
How's it looking over there?
You're almost to the end here. All right, that's good. Yep. All right, we're gonna want this to be a little closer here to about right there. I'm gonna press the drive pipe into this unisil here on the bucket. Okay, just like that. And I've got this lid here that the supply line's gonna feed into. When the bucket fills up, it's going to start shooting out of those holes that were drilled. And those are just air holes. Now, because the drive pipe is open at the other end, all the water is probably going to spill out of that before this fills up all the way. Okay, so if you will, remove the union that's next to that ball valve. That'll free up that valve from being attached to the pump. Now there is an O-ring in there, you just want to make sure not to lose that.
That's why it's supposed to hold to make sure it doesn't fall down.
Yep. And so now you can screw that in there.
Now it's going down.
Yeah, that's a great pressure there. Okay, and now you can close that valve so you don't get splashed.
Right. Awesome.
So, is there a good spot to put that rebar in there?
We might have some rock here, but we can give it a shot.
Okay, let's see if I can find that.
Got it?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, finally found some dirt.
Good. The delivery side is closed, which means we can build pressure and see it work. So now just press your valve down, and it probably will take 5 to 10 times to get it to cycle on its own. So what that's doing is it's filling the pressure tank with pressure. Ha! All right. Nice. So what we need to do now is run our delivery pipe. As the pressure tank reaches its max pressure, this pipe will start shaking more and more because it's hammering hard.
Right.
So if you close the drive pipe ball valve, and now open the other side over there, and you can watch it have a jet. Woo! So that was all the pressure in that tank.
Nice.
The ram pump is down creek and is actually cycling at the moment. So you can see these little spurts of water. That's how much excess we have coming into the bucket. And you can see how it cycles back and forth, going up and down. That's with each cycle of the ram pump. It has that much drop. For this install, we're going to be using a garden hose for the delivery pipe. And so we're just simply connecting a couple of 100-footers to make it all the way up to the abandoned greenhouse. Once that's tight on there, go ahead and open that delivery pipe, and the pump is going to stop, but water will start filling up that garden hose to match the level of the source. We've got a piece of 1/2-inch PVC pipe taped to a piece of bamboo to push back under the culvert so we can get the delivery pipe under the road so no cars will be driving over it.
All right, here we go.
Did you get it?
He got it.
Got it.
There's a small hole on the edge of the greenhouse that's being used to get the hose up into the building.
This should be good. We can kind of attach the port in there.
We've got the garden hose delivery pipe connected, and the delivery ball valve right here is also open, which means their garden hose has leveled out with their intake. And so now she is going to press down the waste valve until it begins to cycle on its own. So what it's doing is filling up the delivery pipe, which goes up to the abandoned greenhouse. And as soon as that pipe has enough water in it to create back pressure, it will push down on the pump and cycle on its own. This could take anywhere from 1 touch to about 50, so we'll let you know whenever it starts. I'm gonna pick the hose up here to see if we've made it to this point yet. Doesn't seem like it. And just like that, we have water filling up here at the very top. Now this tiny pump can supply somewhere around 300 gallons in a day. So as you can see, it's not flowing very much, but that right there adds up real quick.
It's a good day.
We spent a good portion of the day, but we got it done. Hope you guys enjoy water up here and turn this greenhouse from abandoned to flourishing.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It's been amazing.
Thank you.
So stay tuned for the walk around here of the abandoned greenhouse. And remember, if you need a ram pump, I have them for sale on Amazon, eBay, and the Land House website. Links all in the description down below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.
My name is Brian. This is Lana.
Hi.
Charlie's around there somewhere. He'll be making his appearance a little later on. I want to welcome you all to our haunted greenhouse. Not haunted, but it is abandoned. It's a little spooky in there. It was something that we found this rental, and the current owners were gracious enough to allow us an opportunity to kind of take advantage and make the most of this greenhouse. The two things you think about with planting, you think about soil and you think about, of course, water. So I think that that's why it's been so let go for so long. There was no true water source, and Seth has been gracious enough to help us out with that, so we no longer have to carry buckets up the hill. Let's take a kind of a tour, take a look at what's going on in here. So this was owned from, as far as we know, people that were starting a commune or some kind of community. I had heard that there was a water well at one point, but obviously you can see rough shape, abandoned, but it just takes a little bit of creativity and a little bit of thought and positivity. And you can see they had just miles of pots in here, and it looked like they had the whole thing running off of this really cool wood burning stove. Obviously the stove's no longer working, electric's no longer working, water is of course no longer working, so we're stuck dealing with what we've got, but we're trying to make the most of it. But when you have this kind of a space and you have this kind of an opportunity, you've got to do something to make the most of it. Temperature has been consistently maybe 20, 30 degrees warmer here than outside. So we're kind of taking advantage of that. We actually just got a frost, a little bit of light snow last night. This is April, beginning April, but the plants have been amazing. When we first got here, you can see some broken and shattered tubing where they did have an irrigation system at one point. Any spot that you see here that's been green, this is just drips from the ceiling. You can see some of these spots here. This is where we have not touched yet. A lot of the drip lines, a lot of the overgrowth here. I found out the hard way that we have some poison ivy against the wall. I'm still trying to recover, but it's just been a matter of kind of getting that under control and starting to clear the beds out. And you know, you get inspired. You start with one, you know, and then you get another one going and you start to see that these have actually done very, very well, even with all that frost. Lana has been amazing with putting up this netting because we're doing some crawling stuff over here. So we're doing the best we can, but you know, right now we're watering by hand, so it takes maybe 30, 40 minutes with both of us with watering cans, just trying to, you know, get the whole thing done. How long then are we at this point? Maybe like a month in? A few weeks? 3, 4 weeks?
We just moved in March 1st.
So, you know, with starting this, it's just been nonstop. But, you know, it's a labor of love. It's one of those things where, you know, we look forward to getting done with work and coming here and spending our time in the garden, in the greenhouse, I should say. And it's been an amazing experience so far, and we're just very, very excited about the opportunity to enjoy it more now that we don't have to worry about the water source.